morning for those of you in Europe and good afternoon for those in China. This is Cristina D'Adezio, Administration and Event Assistant at the China-Italy Chamber of Commerce, one of the implementing partners of the EU SME Center. Today's topic is how to build a mutually beneficial relation with the Chinese aviation industry. EU SME Center is a project implemented with the financial support of the European Union, assisting SMEs to do business in China by providing a comprehensive range of hands-on information, advices, trainings, and other supporting services. The center is implemented by a consortium of 6 partners, and China-Italy Chamber of Commerce is one of the partners who organized the webinar today. The China-Italy Chamber of Commerce is the only private association Italian recognized by the Italian government and the Chinese government. Founded in Beijing in 1991, it counts 5 offices in mainland China: Beijing, Chongqing, Guangzhou, Shanghai, and Suzhou. It's a constantly growing network, reaching more than 600 members in 2016. It has also 10 national working groups established in the following sectors: renewable energies and environment, healthcare, manufacturing industry, services, food and beverage, aviation, fashion, tourism, and sports. Our speaker today is Riccardo Coli, member of the Board of Directors and Secretary General of the Italian Aerospace Network. I would like to hand over to him now.
Thank you, Cristina. Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon to those of you who are in China. I'm Riccardo Coli, and I'm the member of the Board of Directors and Secretary General at the Italian Aerospace Network, and I'm the coordinator of the Aviation Aerospace Working Group at the China-Italy Chamber of Commerce. As well, I'm a member of the Aviation Aerospace Working Group at the European Union Chamber of Commerce in China. As Cristina introduced, today we will speak about the Chinese aviation industry with a special focus on how to build a mutual beneficial relationship with the Chinese aviation industry. At first, I will introduce China, a little bit of history and the future plans by the government, both central and provincial governments. Then I will describe the Chinese aviation industry and the opportunities for EU SMEs. I will introduce European Union best practices in China with a specific focus on Sino-foreign aviation cooperation programs. I will then introduce approach and entry strategies to Chinese aviation, how to build a successful relationship with the Chinese aviation, how to protect your IP in China, and then I will provide some conclusions and suggestions also based on my personal and professional experience in almost 10 years in the People's Republic of China. First, we all know that China is well governed by a central government, and that all of the industries in any sectors are strictly related to all of the government's decision. These are a few statements that have been handed out in the past. Xi Jinping in 2014, during a visit at the Shanghai facilities of the Commercial Aircraft Corporation, stated that the ability to develop and make large airplanes represents the strength of a country's aviation industry, and more importantly, it's a symbol of a country's overall strength and power. A large airplane is the dream of several generations of Chinese. Li Jun, the president of the China Air Transport Association in 2015, stated that China's flight efficiency rate was 68% the year before, which was lower than the 72% in the previous one, in 2013. So besides climate factor, poor airspace management was a major reason for frequent flight delays. That must be reformed. Reforms to low altitude management will be carried out this year, and authorities will also maximize current air routes. Again, Chief Designer Zhou Jianping from the China Manned Space Program stated that with China's current technologies of manned space, flight and moon probe, China has the technology basis to realize the manned lunar mission. Zhang Bonan, Chief Designer of China's Space Station Program, stated that by 2020 the space station will be a national space lab. International cooperation will be encouraged and the door of the lab will open for an experiment that fit the requirements. Feng Zhenling, head of the Civil Aviation Authority of China, in 2016 stated that the general aviation sector, especially aircraft research and manufacturing, has become a hotspot of both industrial and upgrading and social concern. And finally, Xu Dazhi, head of SASTIN, stated that Chinese satellites are now providing more than 80% of the satellite data used in the country. Let's have a look at the 13th five-year plan, but starting from the first time that aviation has been mentioned in any five-year plan before. So the first time was in 2001 during the 10th five-year plan, which goes from 2001 to 2005, which aviation manufacturing industry was mentioned once. And the focus was the promotion of high-tech research. Later on, in the 11th five-year plan, from 2006 to 2010, one paragraph was dedicated to aviation aerospace, with a focus on promoting the aviation and space industries. In the 12th five-year plan, from 2011 to 2015, aviation is at the beginning surprisingly omitted, and the proposal in 2012 to add a vigorous development of aircraft industry was not adopted. With a focus on middle and long-term development plans for the civil aviation industry, 2013 and 2020, aviation industry is finally well introduced and well described in the 13th five-year plan, 2016 to 2020, in which aviation is one of the top 10 sectors in China. And C919 and the C929 aircraft programs are going to lead the Chinese aviation dream. Final five-year plan, 14.5, the aviation will achieve expected from the Chinese industry and the major aviation players, in which China will become the first air transportation market with over 1.3 billion passengers by 2025. The Made in China 2025 initiative marks the launch of a three-phase strategy to build the country into a world manufacturing powerhouse by 2049, coinciding with the centenary of New China. So the first phase, from 2016 to 2025, see China aims becoming a manufacturing powerhouse, which stayed with the production of the first single aisle, the C919. The second phase, from 2026 to 2035, sees China aims at reaching the intermediate level among the world's manufacturing powerhouses, which coincides with the production of the first twin aisle, the C929. And the third and final phase of the Made in China 2025, which goes from 2036 to 2049, sees China aims to firmly establish itself as a world manufacturing powerhouse, with an industry reaching over $1 trillion US. Let's see now how is the Chinese aviation industry structured. The Chinese civil aviation industry is undergoing a strong development. It is planned to grow at 7.9% per year in a growth rate for the next 20 years. CAAC is the country industry regulator in Beijing, and among the enterprises linked to CAAC, one of the most important and notable is the Center for the Aviation Safety Technology, CAST, the only not-for-profit organization recognized by the Ministry of Science and Technology, MOST. The CAAC Air Traffic Management Bureau in Beijing is getting demilitarized to reduce air transportation delays and improve connectivity. AVIC, which is by far the largest company engaged in aircraft manufacturing in China, manufactures all military and civil aviation programs, components, engines, avionics, with all of its subsidiaries and joint ventures with foreign companies. COMAC, the Commercial Aviation Corporation of China, is an independent corporation responsible for the design, assembly, testing, and marketing of all China's forthcoming indigenous commercial airlines. The forecasts for the Chinese aviation industry are, of course, very interesting and very promising. China by 2025 is aiming to become the first aviation market in terms of passenger transportation, achieving 1.3 billion passengers in China and surpassing the USA market, which is going to have 900 million passengers. The 30% of the global aviation industry by 2035 is going to be represented by the Chinese aviation industry. 6,000 new civil aviation aircraft are expected to be delivered, 5,000 new general aviation aircraft, both fixed and rotary wing, 500,000 new pilots, and 2,000 new airports. The local production aims to become a global competitor with a new narrow body, the C919, the new wide body, the C929, a new business jet, the AVIC business jet, and many more. Therefore, there will be extremely interesting supply chain development opportunities for all of the European Union SMEs. AVIC. AVIC, as I said before, is the largest company engaged in aircraft manufacturing in China. All of the civil and military projects are carried out by AVIC directly or through joint ventures. Through this structure, we can see a general picture about the main companies operating under AVIC brand. And as you can see in this slide, without going too much into details, there are companies involved in pretty much everything, directly or through joint ventures or acquisitions. COMAC, the Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China, is a centrally managed core enterprise in civil aircraft industry of China and a central backbone enterprise, which is formed with the approval of the State Council, jointly invested by the State-owned Asset Supervision and Administration Commission of the State Council, Shanghai Guosheng Group, Aviation Industry Corporation of China, Aluminium Corporation of China, China Bao Steel Group Corporation, and Sinochem Corporation headquartered in Shanghai. And as you can see from this slide, all of the major branches are listed into this paragraph. The main civil aviation programs are pictured here. So we can see the C919 program, which is a single aisle produced by COMAC, the MA60 and 600, which is produced by AVIC, the MA700, which is a new program, the RJ21, produced by COMAC, and finally the new C929 twin engine. The general aviation programs are, some of them, listed in this slide. So the first one on top left is the AVIC business jet. Then we have the HO300, the AG600, SR 2022, the helicopter family AC 311, 12, 13, and 52, and finally the Guard 3. These are, of course, only some of the major Chinese general aviation programs which are being developed by mostly avic companies and which have already several cooperation with not only domestic but other foreign players. Let's see now what are the challenges in the Chinese aviation. We will list 10 major challenges, but there could be many more if we go, of course, into the details of each of them. The first one is the commercial air transportation. China is expecting to receive over 6,000 new commercial aircraft within 2034, which amounts for about 18% of the global deliveries and a market value of 865 billion euro. The Chinese industry therefore needs to keep up with the efficiency and safety issues in terms of air transportation. The second challenge, commercial infrastructure. China's airspace is actually controlled for 80% by the army, and it requires for demilitarization to develop general aviation. There are already 193 commercial airports, and 80 new airports are estimated to be built by 2020 in order to welcome all of the commercial air transportation. The third challenge, the network air route. The triangles connecting Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou are almost saturated, and most of large airports are reaching their maximum capacity. China is therefore set to become the largest passenger market by 2034. The fourth challenge is the competition from ground transportation. As an example, high-speed railways have demonstrated, for example between Chengdu and Chongqing, that air traffic may drop to a zero in case of efficient ground transportation development. As well, low-cost carriers are not developing as fast as in EU. The fifth challenge is the lack of workforce. Even though China has a big population, China needs to train over 20,000 new pilots and 90,000 technicians to meet the industry demands in the next 5 to 10 years. Therefore, a lot of training organizations are catching up in order to make this workforce more efficient and ready to work. The sixth challenge, technological constraints. China is trying to strongly reduce the technological gap that is in between today's dependence from foreign players and its desire of being able to produce its own aircraft independently. The seventh challenge, intellectual property. For the uninitiated, China can be a scarce place to consider establishing a manufacturing operation. Tales abound of product design being copied, many well documented, ranging from high-end golf clubs to industrial fittings, movies, books, and even electronic components, may be considered as a further constraint for development of Sino-foreign cooperations. The eighth challenge is the foreign investment. Until 2012, less than 20 aviation parks had been established in China. Today, in about 5 years' time, there are over 50 aviation parks, and more than 30 aviation parks are planned to be built within 2025. Yet, foreign investment policies are evolving on a local basis and make very difficult for us foreign investors to make the right decision and to understand what are the opportunities in the different parks. The ninth challenge, a regulatory framework. Regulations are still uncertain in most areas, but CAC is cooperating with EASA and also with FAA to update its regulatory framework and harmonize things. The 10th challenge, goals achievement. Deadlines push Chinese companies to move faster than programs and products development timelines, but sometimes deadlines are not realistic. So, with a brief introduction about a political overview, about an industrial overview, about the history, the actual situation, and the future programs, what are the opportunities for EU SMEs? The aviation industry in China is for sure leading the fourth industrial revolution. Opportunities have already been available for foreign main contractors and multinational companies for a long time, especially starting from the 2000s. Nowadays, and based on the potential of the domestic industry to become one of the global reference points, more possibilities are also rising for SMEs. Consider the previously analyzed development of the whole industry. At the EU SME Center, we foresee business opportunities concerning many segments and subsegments. China is looking for value, therefore we believe that the right model to be considered is the value chain model explained here below, which includes upstream in terms of R&D, midstream in terms of manufacturing, and downstream in terms of aircraft operation and continuous airworthiness. As for the right business approach, Chinese customers, of course, prefer foreign enterprises to localize their production, their staff, their offices in China, and find a reliable partner to assemble and distribute their products and services and to represent them on the territory. It is, of course, up to a very single company, up to a very single business model to decide what is the best business model that each EU SME should undertake in China with the proper considerations. Let's have a look at the first best practice that we can list here, which is between European Union and China. This best practice is called the EU-China Aviation Partnership Project, which is implemented by EASA in cooperation with CAAC. The projects incorporate the idea of a close cooperation between EASA and various European project partners to bring best European aviation enterprises to the project. Likewise, on the Chinese side, the project interacts with several Chinese stakeholders coordinated by CAAC. The EU-China APP is set for a duration of 5 years, from 2015 to 2020, with European Union funds of 10 million euros. The main project component areas are regulatory dialogue on safety, general aviation, ATM, ANS and airports, airworthiness, environmental protection, economic policy and regulation, aviation safety and security, legislation and law enforcement. The project partners are the European Union Chamber of Commerce, Member States aviation authorities, the Chinese Academy of Space Technology, the Air Traffic Management Bureau of the Civil Aviation Administration of China. Within the European Union Chamber of Commerce Working Group, we meet regularly and often in order to together work on the APP, to dialogue and to discuss with Chinese counterparts on specific issues, and in order to make sure that the regulatory framework could be developed according also to the experiences of European companies also in China. The second best practice that I'm introducing today is the cooperation agreement between Italy and China in the aviation and aerospace industry. It was signed by the two governments, the Italian government and the Chinese government, in Beijing and Rome in 2014. And it is a comprehensive and advanced cooperation method between the two countries to achieve partnership in three main areas: government to government, main contractors and state-owned enterprises, small-medium enterprises. On the Italian side, the program is launched by the Embassy of Italy to the People's Republic of China and executed by the Aviation Aerospace Working Group of the China-Italy Chamber of Commerce, which is an implementing partner of the EU SME Center. So far, over 50 Italian SMEs have joined the following projects within the cooperation agreement. The first, setup and market positioning of the working group and the cooperation agreement. The second, market approach and penetration of the working group and the program in China. The project three, the high-level actions and interactions between governments. Again, based on the two previously mentioned programs, opportunities for EU SMEs are arising quickly. These best practices have been achieved by professionals who have developed a deep knowledge of the European and the Chinese aviation industry. They've worked domestically for a considerate amount of time. They have understood the importance of the interactions between governments, institutions, and industries. They studied and created best practice tools available for EU SMEs approaching the market today, and therefore we strongly suggest you to get more information about these programs and join them today. At the EU SME Center, we strongly recommend you to get in touch with us, as we have experts not only in civil aviation, general aviation programs, but also in different sub-programs and sub-segments to create a mutually beneficial relation with Chinese counterparts. For European Union SMEs, we believe it will be of an incredible value to join existing programs and projects to foresee business opportunities arising from the work done by teams of European and Chinese professionals over the years. Let's see now approach and entry strategies to Chinese aviation. First, present yourself. Study the market from your own perspective to get the best out of it. At the EU SME Center, there are plenty of experts to talk to and market researchers to analyze. Analyze the list of aviation-related events. There is something to take part to basically on a monthly basis, and take part into the ones that are most relevant to your business segment. Get your marketing material ready for the Chinese taste. Therefore, translations are not the only issue that you have to consider, and use it during your preliminary meetings to understand the feeling and the needs of your prospects. Second, listen to the market. Position yourself to be found, meet potential partners, and compare the different business models presented by potential partners and prospects. Having your website translated might not be enough indeed. Be ready to say yes, but negotiate the terms to a mutual advantage. Most of the Chinese companies you will meet will ask you whether you have established your presence in China, or you intend to, and whether you are ready to transfer your know-how to them. Be careful with preliminary agreements, letter of intents, NDAs, and so on. Have your legal advisors look into them carefully and plan for the future, which means at least 5 to 10 years. Therefore, do not expect short-term results in China. To build a successful relationship with Chinese aviation, it's time then to expand your presence. Appoint a China representative who will have to follow the working methods in China of your domestic partners and prospects. China has indeed different working methods than Europe. Social media are by far largely used in China to work and to get in touch with other business potential partners. Represent yourself with a China desk, a China office, or better, wholly foreign-owned enterprise, or be represented by agents, distributors, dealers, consultants, and choose how to represent yourself carefully. The industry privatization is booming, and not many understand the values of a seasoned EU SME. Keep high interaction with the industry to build the right brand awareness. Do not expect short-term result, and consider that negotiations can get harder the closer you get to the deal signing day. Second, be stable and reliable. China is very dynamic, therefore things change faster than you can predict. Being always available will make yourself a stable point of reference for your Chinese partners. Stabilize your presence in the short-middle terms through your own branch on the market. China makes it more accessible now than ever for high-tech EU SMEs. Then meet your partners and prospect regularly, grow your structure in China with both foreign and Chinese professionals, mix and match your staff carefully. Protect your IP in China. The Chinese market has become increasingly competitive, therefore it is even more essential to strategically manage, protect, and leverage your IP. It is important to check the legal status of a Chinese partner, its reputation, and qualification. Payment for technology can be in the form of a fixed one-time payment or a running royalty or a combination of the two of them. Improvement to technology is a key issue in technology transfer agreements and can be difficult. A technology transfer agreement between a foreign and a Chinese party is qualified as an international agreement. European SMEs should first try to develop long-term cooperation, maybe signing a letter of intent, a non-disclosure agreement, a contract, and then thinking to establish a joint venture or a direct investment in China. We have almost concluded this presentation, and we will provide some suggestions and conclusions. China sees designing and manufacturing passenger jet as an important indicator of the nation's technological power. Therefore, it suggested to undertake this dream, the Chinese dream, as an opportunity to know a new market, an opportunity to expand your business, an opportunity to become one of the players also in China. Aviation manufacturing is seen as a driving economic growth and as providing a key basis for national defense. So the government is really focusing on aviation, and therefore establish your positive liaison with all of the government departments in different regions and provinces in China. To achieve the goal of creating a globally competitive commercial aviation manufacturing industry, it is clear that China aims at creating its own industry that could potentially become completely independent in a near future. Therefore, think about China for China. The truth behind technological awareness is still unfold, and industry stories have populated the latest talks among industry players with interesting topics. There are a lot of stories indeed between industry players that we talk to regularly, and it is interesting for all of you to get in touch with them, to take part to their life, and to understand what's happened before in order to take those experiences as a starting point for your new experiences in China. The race for aviation power has clearly started, and the EU SMEs are called to take part and contribute to the future of the Chinese civil aviation and general aviation industry. Be always updated on the latest industry news. That is now possible thanks to the establishment of a lot of magazines, events, associations, and working groups. Finally, protect yourself and move confidently, because the industry is hungry for your know-how and it is willing to pay you well for it.
I would like to thank one more time our speaker of today, Riccardo Colli, the Secretary General of the Italian Aerospace Network, and I thank you again for watching. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Goodbye.